So today's video is just going to be going over my thoughts as well as a bunch of your thoughts for the Wheel of Time teaser trailer that was released. I won't be watching the trailer here and reacting to it, but I will have it linked down below if you haven't watched it yet. And I'll give my thoughts first, and then I'll read through some of yours. I did the same setup for the Entertainment Weekly photos that were released shortly before this, and I would say for the most part, most people, at least the ones who were replying to me over on my Instagram stories when I asked their thoughts, were not a big fan. But most of us were still optimistic and thinking it's probably just these photos, it's Entertainment Weekly, and when we get the teaser trailer, we can get a better idea. And I absolutely think, these are my thoughts, that the trailer looked great. I'm so excited because I know there are so many of you that not only do you love Wheel of Time, but it holds such a special place in your heart. You have been waiting for an adaptation for so long. And I'm so excited for you because it looks fantastic. I do want to say really quick, I mentioned this before, but I have kind of this weird track record of every single time I think something looks good, I end up not caring for it, and then every time I'm like, then I end up liking the thing. It's very frustrating. It happened most recently with Nightmare of the Wolf. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. But anyway, with Wheel of Time, I am now worried because I thought the trailer looked so good that I'm like, please actually be good. Just once, I would like if my thoughts for the trailer and then my thoughts for the actual show ended up being the same. I like the sets. I like seeing all of the cast. I like seeing the locations that are talked about in the books. I have read the first 4. I didn't really care for the books. I gave the first 4 a shot and then I put them down. However, I am familiar with what a lot of the first season is going to be showing us. So I thought a lot of what I saw looked really good. I think it looks very much like what the books have described. I know that a lot of the people involved with the show are huge fans, which is so exciting. It's nice knowing that the people who are trying to adapt the source material, they are doing it with care. Even if you don't like the end result, you can at least appreciate the effort that goes in, the amount of detail that they try to incorporate, and I think that that's happening here just in looking at this trailer. There were a couple of things I didn't absolutely love, I think, and this is to no fault of anyone involved in the show, but this is just exactly the tiny bit of criticism that often gets thrown at Wheel of Time. The beginning of Wheel of Time is very similar to the beginning of Lord of the Rings. I don't think it looks so similar that it's a problem. I just think that if you, for people who are not into fantasy, like my mother, for example, if I showed her like, hey mom, look at this new Lord of the Rings show, her thing, she'd probably be like, okay, and she would just go with it. She wouldn't be like, that doesn't look like Lord of the Rings. She might question where the hobbits are, but she would probably wouldn't even do that. What I do like though is we're constantly seeing every new fantasy thing compared to Game of Thrones, and I kind of like that they, I think, recognize this isn't really like Game of Thrones. If it's like anything, it's like Lord of the Rings, and that's what it looks like. It looks more like what I feel like Lord of the Rings left this gap, and then Game of Thrones was very different, but we haven't really gotten a great Lord of the Rings-esque story since then, and I think that this could be that. I'm really excited. I think it looks really fantastic. However, a lot of you disagree. And I was really surprised. So I'm going to go through. It was kind of just one or the other. There aren't too many people that are like, it looks okay. It was just, I don't think it looks good or it looks fantastic. So I'm just going to read off a bunch really quickly. The first one says, the colors are a little too bright. It looks artificial. It doesn't feel natural. I do think that some of it looks pretty bright. Their clothing especially, but I think that that's fitting for the people that are wearing the brighter colors. I think it goes with them. But I think this was a similar complaint with Shadow and Bone, that some of their colorful outfits, which once again are, they tie into something specific with status, we'll say. But I understand that it also doesn't look as gritty, perhaps. Somebody else said, and I apologize, I might pronounce this wrong, but amazing, the merge roll especially looks fantastic. I did think that the special effects looked phenomenal. I was really excited. I criticized a lot of Witcher for how they went about it, but in this one it looks really good. I think it looks great. This person says, really liked it. Got me excited about the show, especially liked Lan, Nynaeve, and the Aes Sedai. Someone said, I'm surprised they didn't show Rand as much considering he's the main character. If I'm not mistaken, I think the show is approaching this more as if Moraine is sort of the main focus of the first season. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that's what I heard, that they were kind of approaching it with her being a little bit more of the focus. I do think that this particular story, so many people talk about how Robert Jordan kind of flips gender roles on their head, and I think the trailer is depicting that. I mean, the fact that the women are the ones with the magic and they're the ones with a lot of the power, and you see these powerful women in the trailer and everything, I think it's going to be a fantasy story that goes about things a little differently than you see in a lot of fantasy. I mean, I feel like anytime a woman expresses, or a man, but anytime anybody expresses slight discomfort with the way that a lot of the women in fantasy are depicted, and in adaptations, how a lot of times at some point these actresses are going to be naked or topless or whatever the case may be, people, they tend to disregard those kinds of comments or say things like, people are so prude, or things like that. I kind of get the vibe that Wheel of Time is like, we're going to show some really cool ladies in this show. Some cool fellas too, like this other person who said that Lan looked really cool. The fellas look great. But this story has powerful women, and they look like they're gonna show it. Somebody said, it looks so friggin' good, Egwene getting out of the water. I'm quaking. Some scenes it's meh, and other scenes it's mind-blowing. There's the very opening where you see Nynaeve push Egwene. I was like, what the heck? I don't know why. I just thought that was the weirdest opening. And then the rest of the trailer I thought looked pretty phenomenal. Someone said an improvement on the photos released earlier. 100% agree. Next one says, bad. That's it. Somebody thinks it looks bad. I think it has potential. Feel like the lighting looks a bit whack, but it has me feeling excited. It does look brighter than we've seen from a lot of other fantasy adaptations. Witcher was very dark and kind of gray and green tones, and this one seems to be pulling away from that. This one, to me, looks-wise, at least in this trailer, resembles Shadow and Bone a little bit more. As far as the colorful clothing, the more vibrant look, the brighter look, I think it more so resembles Shadow and Bone. Not in the story at all, though. Expectations fully met and exceeded. Next to a person that just said meh. This person has a very interesting criticism, or at least observation. Everything looks cool, but Wheel of Time is big. All the small sets don't feel Wheel of Time-ish. So I will be interested to see how big the big locations feel when we watch the show. But as of right now, I don't know that I can comment too much on that. It's so funny. There's so many that are right next to each other that are complete opposite. One says, it's glorious, and the one next to it says, very generic, feels like Legend of the Seeker mixed with Aragon and Cursed, no good references. This person is quite critical. They say, I can't go over the costumes looking like cosplays, and they also said, also kind of mean, but some snippets looked like fan trailers. I'm not gonna lie, there's some really great cosplayers and some really great fan-made trailers that have come out in the past, but I also get where you wouldn't want it to feel like that. You want it to feel like this is Wheel of Time. It just exists somewhere over there and somebody got footage of it. That's what you want it to feel like. And I don't think I agree. I thought that the Entertainment Weekly photos looked like cosplay, and I thought that the Entertainment Weekly photos, they looked a little cheesy, in my opinion. But I don't know if I agree. I think this teaser trailer, I thought the costumes looked much better. Someone else mentioned Aragon. Someone said, gives off live action TLA and Aragon movie vibes. Not sold. Some of you are. Takes a lot to convince you. Another person right next to it says, awesome, highly hyped up. Man, it's back and forth. The next person said, looks kind of low budget. I thought it looked not low budget. I thought it looked pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. I know there's not a lot of room in Instagram stories when you're replying. I would love to know what looks low budget. A couple people have mentioned the lighting. It looks a little bright. And then one person talking about how it looks kind of like cosplay. But do the sets not look good? Do you think the special effects look really bad? Or I don't know. I'm very curious to know what looks low budget about it. Oh, it looked good. Please be good. Please be good. I know. I feel that way too. This person mentioning something I was talking about earlier. It looks way better than those promo pics. I love seeing all the fierce ladies. So one person loved how colorful it is, and they said the soundtrack is haunting. I did like the music in the background. I majored in music, so I'm always biased, but I am really hopeful for a great soundtrack. I always like when we get great music. Also, just so I can derp around on my violin and play it. Colorful, too bright. I mean it, too darn bright. No one, I mean, okay, what I like about this is we're not arguing that it's bright. I think most people are probably in agreement that it looks kind of bright. It's just a matter of whether you like it or not. One person says CGI doesn't look great. It is only a teaser trailer though, but everything else looks amazing. This person said kinda boring, but love the special effects. One person said I loved it, but a little flashy. I hope it doesn't become a young adult sort of show like Shadow and Bone, which I did say I think it looks kind of like Shadow and Bone, literally in the looks, not necessarily in the story. I will say, I think it's kind of amusing. I don't think the show is going to be super, super, super mature because while there's obviously some, it's very large, it's very epic, and the writing is not overly simplistic, so it's adult, but it was for a time sold as young adult, and that's actually how my husband, he's read the entire series, and that was how he was introduced to it, was when it was sold in young adult. So if it did lean a little bit more kind of family friendly, I don't know if I'd be angry about that, but I also get where you might want it to lean more into the adult aspects. And then the very last one that I have for today says, looks all right. I'm honestly flabbergasted at how different so many people feel, or how somebody can love one aspect and the next person can think it's trash, that same aspect. So I would love to know all of your thoughts. I would love to know your more in-depth thoughts if you have them, whether you're a fan or you've never read the books, or you read the books and didn't like them but you're excited about the show. Whoever you are, whatever your experience with Wheel of Time is, I would love to know your thoughts. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.